Hey everyone, it's Robin here on the Good Place Bench, joined here by Fredrik. Welcome to the Good Place Bench. As part of the Cities in Placemaking event today in Amara, The Hague, hosted by Placemaking Europe. And we're delighted to be speaking to mayors today, and which is the first. Normally we host conversation with citizens on the public bench, and today it's mayors. So it's great to hear that kind of level of perspective. Fredrik, just introduce yourself to the viewers, to the listeners, and tell us a bit more. Are you a mayor?
So thank you for having me on your bench. I'm a bench fan, I always have been, and I always have my coffee with me. So I'm actually not a mayor, but I was a vice mayor to the city of Stockholm previously. But I'm here in this regard as a member of the board to Placemaking Europe. And I've been on the political side of placemaking and urban and city planning, but I am also a practitioner of placemaking. I run markets, festivals, events, and I grew up as a skateboarder. So to me, having a presence in the public domain and setting the rules for what you're allowed to do as a citizen has always been an engaging aspect for me.
Which makes me actually realize I used to skate as well in the past, hanging around, in public spaces. But never got to me like this, like how you describe it now. So thanks for reminding me where I come from. Don't believe in your roots, right? But with that profile, how important is today?
So I think placemaking is a participatory discipline. And what I mean by that is that you are representing and reaching out to a very broad audience. And people in general are the same wherever you go. They want to be heard and they want to be seen. Mm-hmm. So as a politician, the most important aspect is to hear and to see, to really understand your community. And that's why I think placemaking has a role to play. And I think having been embedded in so many levels in my life, I know the ins and outs of each sort of institution and the do's and don'ts, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But today, bringing together 12 cities, both mayors and representatives, into one place. That's quite a milestone for, I'd say, placemaking and policy making, right?
Absolutely. And I think what's the most interesting aspect is that what we're really trying to do is to make placemaking systemic. Yeah. And what I mean by that is to make the decision-making format placemaking a real thing when you're driving municipalities, but also the projects that are launched within placemaking. How do we go from making them very temporary to making it permanent? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not the project itself, but maybe it's the approach of how you program a public square. Mm-hmm. And how you include the community. But ironically, since you're asking about mayors, I think the least permanent aspects are politicians, because politicians are elected over a short period of time.
We talked about it, yeah.
Whereas cities will need to stand their ground for centuries.
Yeah. And we talked even in previous interviews with mayors, and they were actually quite happy that they were just at the beginning of their term, right? So they feel that they they can actually change something and connect more with citizens alike, communities, and work on these urban challenges. If you relate that to Stockholm, for example, your home base, and being a dad to children, what role does placemaking will have for the future of Stockholm?
I think Stockholm is a good example of a city that has had a very planned structure. So what I mean by that is that you didn't see a lot of initiatives from the ground up. It was always planned space, planned playgrounds, planned parks. but citizens want to be part of that planning. And I think we're seeing the first real steps toward a more inclusive planning format. And I think what's happening is that instead of protesting about the city that you don't want to see, you can now get more actively involved in shaping your city. But still, I think we are certainly behind in comparison to a lot of other cities. But I think it's also a post-war legacy from an historic point of view. The structures were still intact in Sweden after the Second World War, in contrast to many other European cities. So we don't have the creative destruction approach because it was always relatively well planned. The national finances in the 50s and 60s were pretty good. I think it's now that we're really seeing a new generation who wants to be part of city planning. And I for one, fully endorse it. And I love that my kids are sort of growing up in an environment where they can be, their voices are more active. The dialogue of planning space for young people and children is certainly much more inclusive now than it's ever been.
And you seem to be someone who's on every layer represented. Which one do you like most?
Which one do I like? I'm still the scruffy-looking skateboarder. I still hang out in parking lots and fall over. I'm just slightly worse, slightly older, but equally keen.
You just move up and you move down, whatever you choose to. Amazing. With this event in mind, with that long term in mind, Fredrik, what is a good place to you?
I'm gonna have to go with my local park. Everyone has a local park, right? And I know exactly how the sun drops into the trees, what time I know, and it's which bench to sit on at what time. So it's really the public space as a sort of extension of my living room, which is my local park, is by far my favorite public place.
Amazing. And I cannot, it's a question I cannot leave out, knowing that you're a bench fan, but what is then the ultimate bench?
The ultimate bench is a place where anyone feels invited to sit down, where you can sit and strike up a conversation with the person sitting next to you without intruding whatsoever on the private space, but also just to sit. You can enjoy a view, you can gather your thoughts, but I think the perfect bench is a calm space where you will always, regardless of who you are and where you come from, feel invited to sit down for as long as you need or want.
Perhaps with a built-in coffee machine.
Absolutely.
Who knows? One day. Fredrik, I'm going to thank you for your time. Have fun and good luck with the signing of the agenda later on today. For everyone watching, thanks for your time. And we'll definitely meet soon in Stockholm.
Thank you for having me on your bench.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.